The buildings, both the north and the south tower of the World Trade Center gone, and all we're left with is smoke, people running from what is an awful situation. We will come back live when you get in touch with us. We can't get in touch with you by cell phone, only by radio. Any questions? Reporting live on the West Side Highway, Michelle Charles with ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Certainly no shortage of questions.
No, Michelle, thank you. Our reporters are on the scene at WABC Eyewitness News here in New York. We're taking a live picture of the Pentagon. No, this is a picture, obviously, of the collapse of the second tower of the World Trade Center. The skyline of Manhattan no longer exists the way it did an hour and a half and 2 hours ago. Sandra Bookman joining us now, along with Jim Dolan, Laura Stokes covering this all morning, and Sandra North joins us. You can see the Empire State Building from the south view. Is that correct? From them? What view is that from?
That's the Empire State Building from below.
From the ground.
Yes.
Rising up above the smoke.
And south of the Empire State.
We're getting a lot of calls in the Eyewitness newsroom. All river crossings into Manhattan are closed both ways.
We are just getting word, we're hearing from our control room, that a large plane has gone down in western Pennsylvania. We're told that is from Somerset County in western Pennsylvania. Right now, we don't have any other information. As soon as we get that, we will let you know whether or not this has anything to do with the incidents that have transpired not only here in New York this morning, but in Washington as well.
Keep in mind that all aircraft in the United States, all airports have been shut down for takeoffs and for takeoffs. Planes have been rerouted and told to land at the nearest available airport. That could very well be what happened in Somerset County. A large plane trying to land perhaps at a small airport. We just do not know. Again, there have been several apparently coordinated attacks on the United States. The World Trade Center, 2 airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center, one at 8:45 this morning, one at 9:03. At 9:35, a small plane crashes into the Pentagon. That is still on fire, as you saw just a couple minutes ago. This is a live picture from the West Side Highway, and again, we're up above from Newscopter 7. John Del Giorno is our reporter up in the air, but he cannot hear us, and we cannot hear him, because radio communication was coordinated and existed on top of the World Trade Center, which exists no more.
And we can't say too often, because we've got people calling into us. They are not able to get out of the city. There's a reason for that. Most of the bridges and tunnels, as we said repeatedly, have been closed off. Police have done that this morning in anticipation of any other troubles, possible troubles. In fact, Art McFarland is standing by at the Lincoln Tunnel. Art, fill us in. What are you seeing there?
All right, Rob. I'm going to do the setup. We are at the Lincoln Tunnel right now. Just one example of how New York City and the surrounding areas are shut down. Lincoln Tunnel completely closed behind me. You can see the Port Authority police have it blocked off. There have actually been people who live in New Jersey who've tried to come here and walk through the tunnel. Of course, they're not allowed to. What people are doing, if you can just follow me over here, Rob, you can see people walking here. They're walking west now on 41st Street, and what they're trying to do is get a ferry to New Jersey. There is word that there have been some ferries operating. There's no way, of course, to confirm that from here. But the situation, of course, very desperate for some of those trying to get out of here and make it over to New Jersey. As we go around to the right here, you can see the line of traffic over here behind me. Traffic is being stopped now well away from the Lincoln Tunnel, not allowing any traffic to come down here. Port Authority police have been telling some of these motorists trying to come to the Lincoln Tunnel they might as well try upstate. One woman we spoke to said that she would try to go up to the Tappan Zee Bridge. There's no word on if there's any access there. But again, the Lincoln Tunnel behind me is closed. The most stark example of this tragedy that we've seen here at the Lincoln Tunnel, a man trying to get to New Jersey who said he had family and friends who work at World Trade Center too. He was hysterical, crying, wanting to walk through the Lincoln Tunnel to get to the rest of his family in New Jersey. That, of course, again, just an example of the catastrophe that we're facing this morning. The Lincoln Tunnel is closed. New York City is shut down for transportation. And everyone who approaches this access way to Manhattan is being told that no one knows when that the city will be open once again and people will be able to use this tunnel and other access ways to Manhattan. We are live at the Manhattan Plaza of the Lincoln Tunnel. Art McFarland, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Control room, if you could take that picture of the George Washington Bridge very briefly, as we're looking at a live picture still. The bridge has been shut down. All river crossings, as you heard Art say, have been shut down. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some questions to ask Art. I'm sure you did too, and you wanted us to ask them. He cannot hear us. We cannot talk to him. The communications devices, both cell phone and the communications devices that we relied on the tower that existed once in that shot, do not exist anymore, and we can't hear him. Lauren Glassberg is at St. Vincent's Hospital. Lauren, can you hear us?
Yes, Bill, I hear you. I've been outside St. Vincent's Hospital for about the past 20 minutes, and this is where a lot of the critically injured have been transported, especially after the initial planes crashed into the two towers. And then since the two collapses took place, a lot of people have been brought in with smoke inhalation. Now, there are dozens of doctors lined up waiting for the ambulances to pull up. Cars are pulling up as well. People who have been downtown are transporting the injured as well. Recently, we haven't seen as much blood as we've seen people covered with smoke and dust and just the debris from the collapse that took place about 10 minutes ago. This is a level 1 trauma center, so a lot of the critically injured are being transported here, and they have closed down the sidewalks surrounding the hospital, and I would imagine this will turn into a triage center right outside the hospital as well, depending on how many more injured come by. Back to you, Bill.
Lauren, a quick question. Can you still hear us?
Yes, I can.
You are at St. Vincent's in the Village, is that correct?
Right, on Greenwich Avenue and 11th Street.
Okay.
All right. We also want to point out that the interesting thing about covering a story like this when you live here is that in addition to being almost becoming part of the story sometimes, we have several reporters in downtown Manhattan near the area where the towers have gone down. Joe Torres, who you might have heard earlier this morning on this broadcast, on the phone. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We want to let his wife and his kids know that he is okay. He was finally able to contact us, and he will hopefully have some of the what must be horrific pictures for us later today to let us know exactly what he's seeing and report to us exactly what is transpiring in the area of Lower Manhattan.
Sandra, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can, Lauren.
I wanted to mention I was down there for the first collapse and literally had just jumped in a car. I was hitchhiking a ride to go over to St. Vincent's and was probably about 3 blocks from the tower that collapsed, and was with Nina Pineda and some of our other crews, and was terribly worried about them as well because the debris just followed us up north. It went for blocks, and fortunately I was in the car, so I was able to get away, but that debris really scattered for blocks and blocks, and then the second debris, the second collapse as well. You just saw the smoke going everywhere, so it is very scary to be covering this kind of story with your colleagues and with people you don't know. It just brings everyone together. Everybody's looking out for each other and wanting to get to safety and make sure their next person is safe as well.
Good point, Lauren. Stay with us. Lauren, keep in touch with the control room, and we're going to get back to you. Obviously, your thoughts at this point turn to, as you watch the smoke and the tower collapse.
One of the towers collapsing.
Earlier today. Your thoughts turn to your own loved ones if you're not in contact with them. There are reports only of schools in that area downtown being closed. We want to repeat, we have no reports yet of the rest of the city's schools closed. They are still open, and so we assume that our children are in their schools and they are all safe, of course. But the schools in Lower Manhattan have been closed. You heard David ushering, and we're going to try to get David back on the newsroom camera if we could to bring us up to date with what's open and what's closed. But there are at least, I counted 4 schools in Lower Manhattan that have been closed and evacuated. We are getting word of this other plane crash. Jim Dolan, what have you found out about this other crash in Pennsylvania?
Bill, it is a Boeing 767. We want to point out that it is not yet clear that this accident has anything to do with the rest of all this. It was a Boeing 767. It crashed about 10 a.m., about 8, certainly within the time frame of these other planes, about 8 miles east of Jennerstown, according to County 911 dispatchers. Again, we don't know, we don't have a casualty figure on that yet, and we don't know whether it is tied into the rest of this. That airport is about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Again, it was a Boeing 767, big aircraft, but we don't know how many people are on board or what the whether it's tied into any of this either. Could I just point out one last thing? People are clearly going to be very frustrated today because the cell phones are out, and we're used to calling our loved ones, telling them we're safe and everything.
Good point.
Those are probably going to be out for a while, and the bridges and tunnels are going to be closed for a while. They have to secure each of these, and then they have to put people on them to make sure they stay secured.